So we are at the Sachsenhausen concentration camp. So this one was mainly used for political prisoners. They also, because the Germans, when Hitler's party was rising to power, they started taking out the opposition, so they would send them here. So this was one of the first concentration camps, and it's in like a small town. Like when you're walking through the town, it's like a town that probably has like 2,000 people. I don't know, but it seems like that. And so like it's so weird to think that there was a big concentration camp here. But yeah, so it was mainly politicians and people like that, people speaking out against the German party. But they also sent some Jewish people here near the end, so it'll be cool. It should be pretty intense. And so I'll be filming while we're there. So you'll see in a bit. Peace.
So with the powers of decree, Hitler goes out that night and in the subsequent weeks and arrests many of his political opponents, particularly from ones from the communist parties. And he imprisons them. Now with this massive influx of political prisoners, he has to set up a number of temporary prisons around Berlin and around Munich and other cities around Germany. And they're temporary prisons controlled by the SA, the stormtroopers, the main paramilitary group of thugs who were instrumental in the Nazis' rise to power. They control these temporary prisons in places like factories, abandoned breweries, and they house this massive influx of political prisoners. For example, here in Oranienburg, within the town itself, there was an old abandoned factory which was used to house political prisoners from Berlin. Now, over the next year, with this massive influx of political prisoners, every day more and more are being arrested, they eventually realised they need to set up permanent camps and in a network. So there's camps all around all the major cities of Germany. Now, the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler give this job to the other paramilitary arm of the Nazi Party, which is the SS, the Stutzstaffel, the Protection Squad, and they give them the authority to start building these camps and control this network. Now, the man who is a newly appointed leader of the SS, a man by the name of Heinrich Himmler, who was once the head of the Bavarian state police, but now the leader of the SS, he starts planning and building this network. And he starts outside Munich, and he builds a place in 1934 called Dachau. And that becomes the first concentration camp to house political prisoners arrested by the Nazis. He then moves from Dachau and he moves up to Berlin in 1936. He closes the temporary prison down in the town of Oranienburg, and in 1936 he builds Sachsenhausen, which is the site we're going to see today. Now, Sachsenhausen was built here by the Nazis predominantly as a male political prisoner camp. And people who were brought here were not brought here to be executed. This was not a death camp like a lot of the camps that were built later on in the war after 1942. Many of those camps were all built outside German territory. People were brought here, and they were brought here to work. This was a forced labour camp. They were made to work in brutal industries that surrounded the camp, for example, an aeroplane factory, an armaments factory, brickworks factory. And they were also subcontracted from here to private companies out of Berlin as well, companies that still exist today. You say people were brought here, they were made to work day after day after day. In brutal conditions, they were starving, they had very little food inside, they were living in horrendous conditions and constantly being taunted, tormented, beaten by guards inside as well. Now, camps like Sachsenhausen and the entire concentration camp network were very important for the Nazi Party. From when Hitler came to power in 1933, there was an economic miracle, an economic revival. This was mainly powered by this free labour in camps like this. Later on, after 1939, when the Second World War started, these places, this network in Sachsenhausen became a major part of the Nazi war machine.
So I think this is going to be like the walking tour. It's going to be way too hard to give facts while we're going, but down there is a green mess hall. That's where the Nazis used to eat and drink and stuff, and then the camp's right here. So they said the music and stuff used to flow over here, and everyone hated it because obviously it's like taunting the people, so they used to call the building the Green Monster. And I'll talk more about stuff later, but I'll give you brief views of the camp every so often.
Slate section there. Right. The idea was that they tested German army boots. They tested to see where they could take them. They'd be given a pair of army boots, too small, too big. Given a rucksack with 20 pounds worth of weight on, and they made to run back and forth across the semicircle the entire day, the entire 12 hours. Run, yes. Extremely brutal. Many people could not keep up the pace. Many people couldn't run. They were starving. They didn't have the energy or conditioning to do this. So many beaten and shot. They couldn't keep up. Constantly doing this within sight of the tower edge. Constantly within the sight of the guards.
So this area is the prison inside the camp, as you can probably see. So this would be the prison walls. That would be the gate, and this is just a small part inside the camp. And then now I will walk out. There's a guard tower over there, so I'd be looking over into the prison, as well as outside. And this is back out into the main area of the camp. So I'll just give you a brief, quick history from what we've learned. So over there you can see that's guard tower A. So this camp was built in a triangle. Originally it expanded a little bit later, so it wasn't as effective. But it was in a triangle, and that guard tower could see everything in the camp from where it was. So there'd be a few guards there, had a huge machine gun on top, although they never used it because no one ever tried to escape from here because it was so well guarded, and then they were like psychologically and physically abused all the time, so no one ever tried to escape from here. But right below it, where those, you can see the gravel kind of in the fence, that was called the neutral zone, and by neutral they didn't mean neutral at all, they meant if you stepped on it you were going to get shot. And it went all the way around the walls of the camp. Right now it's just right there as a display. So people eventually they would get so depressed and so fed up with working here that they started walking on it when they just wanted to die. So they were getting fatally shot, but then the Germans started to notice this, so then they wouldn't shoot to kill anymore, they just shoot to injure and just let them bleed there for a bit, and then they take them to the infirmary. So it stopped that. So yeah, the Germans were just intense. And as the guide said, that this track, if you can see it, used to be a boot testing track. And so the average lifespan for someone here was about a year and a half, but if you did the boot testing, it was actually about a day and a half to 2 days, which is crazy. So people would be forced to run this semicircle for 12 hours on different types of terrain. You can see there's different broken up rocks and stuff on it to test the boots, and usually the boots would be too big or too small, and it'd be in the huge heat, like 30 degrees Celsius, and then in the winter it'd be minus 20. So it would be awful, so people would just die here. And like, this wasn't supposed to be a death camp, but still 35,000 people died here from either executions or dehydration or starvation. So it's still tons of people died here, and it housed 200,000 people total. Like they passed through these gates, it wasn't at once. But so 35,000 died, and a lot were transferred to other prisons, so many of them could have died as well. But yeah, it's just crazy to think about all the things. Over here was the expansion, which broke the triangle. This was for a Jewish corridor. A lot of the barracks that used to be here aren't there anymore. They're represented by these stones. So each of those stones used to be a barracks, and they were built for 150 people. But a lot of the time it would have 400 people, and they would get 3 meals a day. But a meal would consist of a little bit of watery soup and a piece of bread. And then they would have to get up at 4:15 in the morning, work 12-hour days, half-hour break for lunch, and usually got beaten and yelled at all day. So it's pretty intense. And this square here would be road call. So one day the camp leader called 700 people just to stand there for 10 hours because there wasn't enough jobs, so they made them stand there 10 hours during the winter. And out of the 700, 150 died there, just from standing out there in the freezing cold with frostbite and stuff. And they did a lot to kind of desensitize the people. Like, no one tried to escape, and you're like, why wouldn't people try to escape? Well, first of all, this camp was, like, as I said, it was very well guarded for how it was built. And surrounding it was the houses of the SS families. So even if you got away and you tried to get help, it was just the SS around. And finally, they did things such like psychologically that would make you not have the will to escape. So they shaved your head to lose your identity. They gave you a number. They would give you triangles. They had people who were prison inmates, homosexuals, Jews, and each would get a different colored triangle based on what you were. And they would group them in a different group. They would make sure that the groups weren't together. They would assort them so that they would be pitted against each other. Like the criminals wouldn't like the homosexuals, or the Jews wouldn't like the politicians, or something like that. So that they would not cooperate and try to uprise against each other. So like they did a lot of things that just stop people from trying to escape. And so yeah, there's some of the brief history. My battery's low, so I'm only going to film the rest of the interesting things, and maybe I'll throw in some facts later. But yeah, this is the general outlook of the camp. It would be, and there was no grass here as well. It would all be dirt, and they would make sure it wasn't a very happy place at all. But yeah, there's some quick facts. This place is really interesting, so definitely worth coming to and investigating. But yeah, that's that for now. Talk to you later. Peace. So the tour is over. You can't really see it now, but inside here, out front of the concentration camp, which was here on this side, is where they used to train SS soldiers. So you can kind of see this parking lot. So that's where they used to train them, just to give you an idea of like how close the training was. And so they would either be put in the prison or filtered out to other camps after being trained here. The average age of a SS soldier at this camp was 20.6 years old. So they were really young. So at first, like many of them were committing suicide. It is raining, but it's hot, so it's okay. But many were committing suicide and stuff, so that's why they started having more music and giving out beer and stuff, because they had problems doing what they were doing at first. So that's a kind of interesting note. And one of the final things that was mentioned was when the camp was, or near the end of the war, the camp was ordered to be evacuated because the Russians were coming from the east and the Americans from the west. So they had about 38,000 prisoners here at the time. So 3,000 were too sick to move, so they just left them. But the other 35,000 were sent to march north, and no one knows why, like what they were doing to be, what was going to happen to them, or why they were being sent to be march north. But that's what the SS was doing with them. And on the journey, 6,000 of the 35,000 of them died, just from dehydration or starvation. But eventually the Americans caught up to them, so the SS fled and the rest were rescued. But that's the story of this place, the general story. There's a lot more. I would definitely recommend coming to see this place because there's just so much history. It's really, really interesting. But yeah, I am going to be chilling tomorrow. It's my last day in Berlin. It's like a half day. Then I'm going to the airport and I'll be going to Amsterdam. So I'll probably see you guys on the way there. So yeah, I'll talk to you later. Peace. I am now walking towards the bus stop to take me to the airport. My flight's not until late tonight, so I had a nice little, I got to wake up later today. Not too late because checkout was still 10, but later than normal because I've been getting up early to go tour and stuff. But I got up a bit later, had a nice breakfast, had a bit of a walk around, ate lunch, had a bit more of a walk around, then just chilled in my hostel for a bit on the internet. And now I'm going to go catch my flight, and I'll end up in Amsterdam late tonight. And I'm actually going to Rotterdam for the first night to hang out with my friend, and then we'll be going to Amsterdam and some other places. But yeah, just thought I'd say hi before I got to the airport, or before I get to Amsterdam. So hi, and yeah, I'll catch you there. Peace.
Can you read the bottom? It says an hour and 40-minute delay.
That sucks. I'm supposed to meet my friend at the train station too, and I don't have a cell phone. So there's a train that I can take that's a bit faster and it's the same price. It leaves at a bit later time and it gets there like 10 minutes later, so hopefully I won't have to contact him and I can still make that train. But if not, I'm gonna have to try to find a way to contact him and tell him that I'm gonna be a bit later. Like, I'm already arriving there at almost 2 in the morning at the train station because I have to take a train. If not, I might arrive there at 3, which would be disappointing, but I don't want him waiting there in like limbo for an hour, not knowing where I am. So we'll see what happens, but this is the joys of traveling. Everyone's like, Mike, you're so lucky. I'm like, oh, well, sometimes it's stressful. It's stressful to plan the trips because you're on a budget and you want to make sure you know where you're going, but it's also stressful doing this. Sitting in an airport for hours on end, waiting to get to your destination, and contacting people like I'm going to have to. So there's upside and there's downside, but yeah, this would be the downside. But yeah, hopefully see you in Amsterdam sometime today. And hopefully the hour and 40-minute delay is as long as it gets us for a delay. But yeah, talk to you later. Peace. So that's my train, 203, Rotterdam Central. 3, there's no transfers apparently, so hopefully I go straight there. I was supposed to be here at 11, so 3 hours late. Thank you, airplane. What you saw of me at the airport was me happy. You should have seen 3 hours later when I found out I was going to be 3 hours late. And I have no cell phone to contact my friend. And so I'm going to only end up being an hour late to the actual station. Because mine was supposed to have a transfer before, where I waited it for a bit, but I have no way of telling him I'll be an hour late. But like, an hour's pretty long, but it's not too long where he's like, "Okay, well, hopefully not." He's like, "Okay, I'm leaving." Hopefully he'll wait for the next one, and then I'll see him there. If not, I've got his cell, but all the cell phones, or all the phones here, there's not changed. They don't take change. They only took credit card, and mine didn't work, which kind of sucks. So hopefully I can find my way there, and then hopefully there's guys on the track. Hopefully nothing's wrong with the train. That would just add to the awesomeness that is getting to where I'm going. But yeah, it's been a good time so far. I've been just stressed. Stress, calm down. But yeah, see, traveling's awesome. But yeah, hopefully see you in Rotterdam. Okay, so I am finally in Rotterdam, and boom!
Hey!
I found Gertie. Oh, I was so worried that he wasn't gonna be there. I was like, please be here when I get out of the station. And like, he wasn't on the platform. He said he'd be down the stairs, so I like slowly walked down the stairs, and I was like crouching down and looking so I could see as soon as possible, and he was there, so it was awesome.
Did you first see my
I saw like a leg standing, just like standing there, so I'm like, oh, someone's standing there, hopefully it's him, and then I saw you, I was like, yes. But yeah, so tell them what you said you were doing when you were waiting for me.
Well, I was like 2 minutes late, but then the train was delayed, so that was okay. But Mike wasn't on the train. So what I basically did, I just walked up and down the tunnel, just like for 4 or 5 times. People were coming at me like, hey, where do you need to go? People were looking at me, is he some kind of drug addict? I was like, no, man, no, relax. Because isn't this alcohol smelling guy asking me to use my phone? Well, you know, Mike was supposed to use another person's phone in case of an emergency.
Yeah.
So who would I have been not to lend my phone? So that's why I dialed a couple of numbers for him. Yeah, crazy. But then, then with the last train, I was like, okay, if he isn't in here, well, that's crazy. Then I'm afraid. Then I have to go home.
Yeah, that's why I was like, okay, I have to make this train, because if not, he's probably gonna leave. But yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna leave. And he said he was running up and down the train station. He's like, have you seen a lost Canadian? A lost Canadian guy?
A lost Canadian guy? About this tall.
As if they would...
Carrying a lot of suitcases.
Yeah, they recognize I'm Canadian. Oh yeah, I saw that Canadian guy. Yeah, that's so funny. I laughed when I heard that. But yeah, I'm here, and we're just walking to his house. He's pushing his bike.
Yep.
It's a got style. I like the color. But yeah. So we're going to Amsterdam tomorrow?
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, see you in Amsterdam. Peace.